Hello, I'm George Elucidates. I'm from Rutgers University in ETH Zurich, and today I'm going to talk about the pore structure dynamics of carbonaceous particles by surface and internal oxidation. Carbonaceous nanoparticles generated by combustion typically coagulate to form fractal-like agglomerates, such as those shown during the previous presentation by Professor Carlizo. Each one of these nanoparticles contain polyaromatic hydrocarbon molecules that are arranged in small crystallites, in small stacks, as you can see over here. These crystallites are distributed rather randomly inside the core of this particle. Close to the surface, though, these crystallites are arranged concentrically and form a graphitic shell. Now, as you can see here, between these crystallites, a network of pores is formed that starts from the surface of the nanoparticle, as you can see, for example, over here. The pore size is rather small for unoxidized carbonaceous nanoparticles. However, oxidation can alter significantly the pore size and structure of these nanoparticles. For example, pseudonanoparticles produced in diesel engines are deposited in particulate filters and oxidized at low temperature. This results in hollow soot nanoparticles with large surface area that can be quite toxic to our health. On the other hand, low temperature oxidation is used to produce hollow carbon black nanoparticles with superior performance in batteries and supercapacitors. So a quantitative understanding of the pore structure dynamics during oxidation is essential to eliminate soot emissions, but also to optimize carbon black grades for energy storage applications. Now, using classic aerosol instruments, such as the differential mobility analyzer and the aerosol particle mass analyzer, we can quantify the impact of oxidation on the particle size and mass. So here on the y-axis, I'm presenting you the mobility diameter measured as a function of the particle mass after oxidation of diffusion flame soot at temperature ranging between 900 to 1200 Kelvin. At low temperatures that are typically present, for example, in diesel particulate filters, oxygen molecules can diffuse and react with the bulk carbonaceous nanoparticle. So at these conditions, oxidation reduces the particle mass without affecting its mobility diameter. At high temperatures that are present, for example, at the flame front, oxidation takes place on the particle surface. So it reduces both the particle mass, but also its diameter. Now, the porosity dynamics of carbonaceous nanoparticles are typically quantified using their specific surface area. So here, on the y-axis, I'm presenting you the normalized specific surface area obtained as a function of the mass conversion by oxidation. In particular here, these data come from low temperature oxidation of diesel soot. And I'm also including data coming from commercial carbon black grades, including the Regal 600, as well as the Printex 95. The specific surface area has been normalized based on that measured before oxidation starts. So, as you can see in these representative microscopy images that we obtained in our facilities, oxidation results in small pores at small conversions. As the conversion increases, these small pores fuse with each other and result in hollow carbonaceous nanoparticles, as you can see over here. So this process increases the specific surface area of soot and carbon black by a factor ranging between 3 to 5. Now, current combustion models use the shrinking particle model to describe the oxidation dynamics of carbonaceous nanoparticles. This model accounts only for surface oxidation and neglects completely internal oxidation. So it underestimates the measured specific surface area by 60% on average. So clearly, we need a model to describe the dynamics of the specific surface area during internal oxidation. To this end, we developed here a lattice Monte Carlo model for both internal and surface oxidation of carbonaceous nanoparticles. So we discretized a carbonaceous nanoparticle having a diameter of 18 nanometers into a cubic lattice that contains about 113,000 cells. The cell size is set to 0.3 nanometers, which is the smallest pore size identified in carbonaceous nanoparticles. So we simulated the oxidation dynamics of this nanoparticle at 10% of oxygen and at a temperature of 823 Kelvin. At these conditions, oxygen diffuses throughout the carbonaceous nanoparticle. So we estimate the mass removed by surface and internal oxidation using this equation over here that we recently derived for our moving sectional model. So the mass reduction is a function of the specific oxidation rate, the external surface area, which is given by the particle diameter, as well as of the internal surface area, which is obtained here based on the pore surface area, and thus it depends on the assumed pore structure. So for simplicity, we considered first a particle that contains only a single cylindrical pore having 18 nanometers length and 0.6 nanometers diameter. We also used here a realistic fractal pore network that we generated using the standard diffusion-limited aggregation algorithm. For your reference, the fractal dimension measured for pore networks of soot and carbon black ranges between 2.28 and 2.21. So the fractal dimension of 2.21 that we obtained here by averaging over 50 simulated pore networks is in excellent agreement with this experimental data. So here I'm presenting you the reduction of the particle mass obtained as a function of time using our lattice Monte Carlo model. In particular, here you can see the mass reduction of non-porous particles that undergo only surface oxidation. At the low temperature that we use here, surface oxidation is very slow. So the mass of this nanoparticle is only partly reduced. It is not completely consumed within 20 seconds. Now, when we account only for a single cylindrical pore, you can see that internal oxidation increases the pore diameter uniformly, as of course it is expected, but it hardly reduces the particle mass compared to the surface oxidation model. Again, though, this is just a simplified pore network. Here, you can see, though, the evolution of the particle mass that we obtained for particles containing realistic fractal pore networks. The shaded area that you can see over here quantifies the statistical variability of our model between the 50 pore networks that we used. As you can see, internal oxidation compacts the pore network and results in a very fast reduction of the particle mass. So we benchmark our model to the literature data and models for the specific surface area that I showed you earlier on. The specific surface area that we derived here for non-porous particles undergoing surface oxidation is in excellent agreement with the shrinking particle model, and this validates our lattice Monte Carlo simulation. Now, internal oxidation of a single cylindrical pore only slightly increases the specific surface area at large conversions. In contrast, oxidation of particles containing fractal pore networks enhances the specific surface area up to a factor of 10. This model for internal and surface oxidation is in excellent agreement with the data for conversions smaller than 50%. However, it overestimates the measured specific surface area by 82% on average at large conversions. This overestimation can be attributed to the graphitic shell of soot and carbon black nanoparticles that is less reactive than its core. To account for this, we also simulated particles containing core shell fractal pore networks. We set the core diameter based on microscopic data from diffusion flame soot. So the shell of these nanoparticles is not affected by internal oxidation. So here you can see the evolution of the particle mass during internal oxidation of core shell fractal pore networks. Accounting for the core shell structure of these fractal pore networks results in slower mass reduction as the shell is not affected by internal oxidation at long residence times. And here you can see the dynamics of the specific surface area of such core shell fractal networks compared to the data and the models that I showed you before. So at small conversions, internal oxidation inside the particle pore increases the specific surface area up to a factor of about 4. After the core is consumed, though, at large conversions, we obtain hollow nanoparticles and their specific surface area levels off. So our lattice Monte Carlo model for surface and internal oxidation of particles with core shell fractal pore networks is in excellent agreement with all the datasets that I'm presenting you here at the entire conversion range. And with this, I would like to come to the conclusions of this work. So here, we elucidated systematically the impact of the pore structure on the oxidation dynamics of carbonaceous nanoparticles for the first time to the best of our knowledge. That way, we showed that neglecting the fractal pore structure and its oxidation underestimates the measured specific surface area by 60% on average. On the other hand, ignoring the core shell structure of carbonaceous nanoparticles overestimates the measured specific surface area by 82% on average. So accounting for the core shell fractal pore networks of carbonaceous nanoparticles is essential for the design of the carbon black porosity and performance, as well as for the elimination of soot emissions. With this, I would like to thank you so much for listening, and I will be very happy to answer all your questions. Thank you.